I think it's really important, even more so for female footballers and male footballers who, in many cases, probably can retire on significant wealth. It's really important that we support female players to think about what we call a dual career, so making sure that they're supported to think about those career options. Maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, some of the clubs might have one sort of head of women's football running everything off pitch and the coach and maybe a sports scientist. Whether they're interested in the commercial side, in the coaching side, on and off pitch, there's just so many opportunities now for them to be involved. Of course, the industry will be so much stronger having those women stay in the industry and give their experience and knowledge back.
Amazing. Well, good morning everybody and welcome to our session about your career, your choices. My name is Kirsten Cole. I'm the Specialist Market Sales Director at LHH and I'm delighted to see, frankly, a very full room today. So this will get the blood pumping on a Tuesday morning. Just so you're aware, LHH are a member of the Adecco Group. We're a global company who deal with all things careers. So we're really, really well positioned to be able to talk about this subject today. So what are we going to be talking about? Well, there's 3 key things really. Obviously welcome, hello. We're going to introduce ourselves to you. We're going to spend some time really having you think about your career and how long do you actively spend thinking about your career. We've just published a piece of research at Adecco that says only 3% of people write down their goal. So as we all know, a goal, if you don't write down your goal, it never really happens. So that's what we're here today to really help with. We've got some career reflections as well. We've got 2 amazing athletes. Frankly, having spent 5 minutes chatting to them, I'm going to have to go and rock somewhere in a corner. And I think where we want you to reflect on your own career, and then what do we want you, because it's a working session, we want you to take from this. So we'd like you to really have some insights into your own career. How do you effectively manage it? And then also, how can you transition positively and intentionally from one role to the other? Hopefully you've all had one of these on your chairs. You're all going to be doing some work today, so hang on to these, you will need them. I can see lots of pens out already, so amazing. So get ready for that, it will come later on. So in terms of what we're covering off today, this is your panel. So I'm Kirsten, I'm the Specialist Market Sales Director.
Hello, my name's Barclay. I'm Head of Solutions for LHH. I'm also a coach and I support people or help to support people from all walks of life thinking about what they're going to do in their careers, what comes next.
My name's Nicky Jennings. I'm a career coach and a facilitator and I've been working on our Sports Solutions project at LHH.
Hi, I'm Danny Crates. I wear 2 hats. I'm a coach and a facilitator at LHH, so I work and support the athletes we support. But I was a professional athlete myself, so I had a 12-year international athletics career, so I know firsthand what it's like to transition away from sport and have a real job.
Hi, Natasha Dowie. I played football professionally for 20 years, recently retired about a year ago. Represented my country for England, played for teams like Liverpool, AC Milan, Everton and so forth, and now I'm the first female ambassador for Liverpool Football Club.
Amazing. So clearly a wealth of experience here in the room. So just to give you a very short overview about why LHH and why Sports Solutions and really why are we here today. So LHH supports organisations and individuals, and we have done for over 50 years. And that's corporates of all sizes. So it can range from financial services all the way through to small and medium-sized organisations. We help people move forwards, whether or not they're at a career crossroads, they've been made redundant, or indeed they're thinking about retirement. These are big moments in everybody's careers. So we've taken the very, very best of our experience and we've applied it in a sports setting. So how can we help athletes? Now, if we think about our lovely panellists here today, at what stage do you decide your playing career is up? So it could be that you work for a football association or a club where you've got academy players who aren't going to get that professional contract at maybe aged 18. What do they go and do next? What happens, before, during, after a significant injury which forces that person to stop their playing career, or indeed a retirement? And again, you're going to hear from Tash and Danny today about how they chose when to finish their careers. At whatever point people are at, people do have to pivot. We've all had to pivot. I'm on my 3rd different career in, decades. And each time, decades, and each time there is a red thread that runs through it, but I've learned some really, really key lessons along the way. So it's at those key career moments when we have to force a change. What do we do about it? So, Danny, how does that apply to athletes?
Yeah, so as an athlete that transitioned out of professional sport and full-time sport and went off to find my way, and having worked with many, many athletes alongside Nicky and the team at LHH, what we find is, obviously there's two sides to it. You've got the physical side, the moving away from your sport and finding a new you and a new career and a new identity. But there's also that mental side that goes with it. Because for athletes, it's that loss of identity, it's that loss of knowing what you are, who you are. And you know, sport is very regimented. We're always working towards something. We've always got a plan, a goal. We've got a structure, and then you move away from that. And we often find it quite difficult. And the one thing we've found, I mean, Nicky worked with lots and lots of athletes, and it doesn't matter who they are, whether it's team sport, individual sport, it doesn't matter where they got to in their career rankings. So in sports like tennis, golf, things like that, you know, your career rankings, they might be top 5 in the world, which will make them huge career earners. And then you get some that are down in the 200-300s. And so their wealth is very, very different. But when they hit that transition phase, when they move away from their sport, a lot of the difficulties they face are very, very, very similar. And we see the same with team sports as well. So we found that it doesn't matter who you are, where you got to in sport, there is still that transition. Even if your bank balance is going to keep you happy for a very long time, you've still got to move away from the sport mentally.
And I think some of the things that we do within LHH and how we work with athletes, and it's not just athletes, we also have a huge range of corporate clients as well. I'm going to say that the challenges are the same, whether you are a professional sports player or whether you are working in a corporate environment. What we do is we help you see your skills and your strengths. When you're doing something for a long time, it can often be a craft that you've honed to the nth degree, but you're starting to take it to advantage, and you don't understand it and see it as something special or different that's relatable to you. We help you understand your interests, other interests that might spark other ideas and other thinking about what else might be next. Going back to your values, what is really important to you and what motivates and drives you? What is the kind of thing that is a non-negotiable for you? We will help you unlock that thinking, start to develop your awareness, and help you to start to look forward and help you thrive in that next role, whatever that may be. And here, just to let you know, this is Abby Wambach, who, you know, you might think and see as up there, but fundamentally it doesn't feel like the second you figure everything out in life, it ends and you're forced to start all over again. Experts call this moment a life transition. I call it terrifying. And that feeling of not knowing what's next is something that is universal, I would say, to everyone.
That's a really good point, actually, Nicky. So thank you for that. Mel, you work with a lot of individuals and corporates. What are some of the key themes that you're hearing from them with regard to careers?
I think, yeah, just to reinforce Nicky's point, really, it's the greatest leveller, the uncertainty around what comes next. No matter if you're somebody from a banking background earning hundreds of thousands of pounds every year, or you're somebody that's in the early stages of their career, uncertainty around, I thought I was going to be doing this for the next 10 years and all of a sudden you're not, actually really it's a level playing field for everybody. I've been through it, everybody's been through it. The interesting thing is, it's the lack of control that's unsettling. It's the fact that you've got the steering wheel and somebody perhaps comes along and says, no, you're not going in that direction, I'm going to take the steering wheel away from you. The biggest challenge is that whether it's the corporate world or the sporting world, if there's not a plan or a vision of where you want to go ultimately in the future, that's even more unsettling. And what we do find is that a lot of the people we work with at LHH spend more time planning their summer holiday than they do thinking about their career. There's a few nodding heads out there. So yeah, I think we're all guilty of it, aren't we? You know, we're all time poor these days, but sometimes we have to set that goal and that path in the future to know how to get there. So I think a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today, and certainly Danny and Natasha's experiences, are really echoed in the real world, you know, the world outside of sport. And I think there's a lot of key takeaways there in terms of planning for the future.
Amazing, thank you. Nicky, what do you see from athletes in that regard?
So I think in terms from an athlete perspective, there is a sense that the sport has been their one goal and their one focus. And when that's taken away, there's a feeling of being lost and out at sea. And I think not only is it about the profession, but often, as I'm sure you'll be able to talk about in a moment, when you are wrapped up, when you are an elite athlete, it's what you eat is very dictated to you. Your structure of the day, when you wake up, when you exercise, who you hang out with, who your friends are, who your support network is. And when you're moving out of that field, it can feel like everything's gone, not just the career and the profession. So it's, I think that's an incredibly big challenge. I think there's something around ego and status and feeling important and feeling and getting your worth and your value from adoration, from a crowd or from a supporter. And there's a really big piece around understanding that actually your worth doesn't just come from that. You have so much more to offer as well.
So, look, the four of us know why you're here, right? You're here to hear from Tash. Right? And you've had an absolutely phenomenal playing career. But sorry to disappoint you, we're not necessarily going to talk about the highs of your career, okay?
Damn it.
Yeah, so we can do that over lunch. But what we're going to focus on a little bit more is what you're doing now, and that decision to sort of finish a playing career, what led you to that, and sort of what you've learned from that career and how you've taken that into the next steps of your life. So I mean, just start off, what are you doing now? So I've got this new role. It was created for me by Susan Black, actually, and some people higher up at Liverpool Football Club. So what happened was last year I found myself back at Liverpool on loan. Never thought it would happen. You know, I was on a real high from playing at Reading, where I was pretty unhappy. I then obviously had a discussion with the manager there and got the move back to Liverpool. And then was feeling good, scoring goals, you know, helped the team get safety last year, broke some more records with my goal scoring, and then was thinking, okay, where next after the summer? You know, retirement wasn't really in my head, to be honest. I had a few offers from Montpellier, a few clubs in Saudi Arabia, America. And then Susan Black approached me and said, look, you know, you're 35. If retirement is maybe something in your mindset, we would like to support you at the club. You know, we want to create this role to make you the first female ambassador at Liverpool Football Club alongside Ian Rush and John Barnes. And when someone's saying that to me, obviously it took my interest. And so I had a couple of months over the summer to really weigh up my options. I didn't rush into it because it's a big deal. It's something that as a player you always think about when retirement's going to happen. It's quite daunting. It's been my obsession since I was born. So to not be Tash Dowie, the football player, was quite a scary thing. And I always thought I'd be that player that would go on to 45, 50. You know, you dragged me off the pitch. But then came the end of the summer, I had some nice offers, but nothing that really got me excited in the belly. You know, that feeling where you think, I'm really excited. You know, I'd played abroad for 8 years, and truthfully, it was lovely to be home, lovely to be back in my hometown, near my family. I didn't want to travel again. I'd been there, done that. So I made the decision, you know, and I think that I'm probably one of the rare ones where I was very fortunate with how the role then occurred. You know, I don't think a lot of athletes transition out of football probably as lucky as I did, and I do know how fortunate I am. People say you create your own luck, and I do feel like I worked hard and I deserved this role. But you know, I think being this ambassador and doing game days at Anfield, you know, meet and greets with fans, working for LFC TV on pitch side, you know, I get to travel the world. I was recently in Bangkok and Dubai meeting partners, doing a lot with the foundation, and to be honest, I'm so busy that actually right now I don't even have time to think about, you know, not playing and probably, you know, being a football player. Don't get me wrong, the first month and a half was really tough because, like what you just said, for 20 years I've been told, you know, what time I needed to be somewhere, what I need to do training-wise, what to eat, you know, focusing on Sunday, getting the 3 points.
And truthfully, I loved that. I loved the routine. I was obsessed by it. I loved having that structure of what my week looked like. And then all of a sudden I'm waking up and I thought I'd love it. Retirement, go for brunches, go for coffee, a bit of shopping, you know, and actually I really didn't like it. I felt like I needed to be doing something. Like I didn't like to have to think about going to the gym and like what session I had to do. I just wanted someone there telling me what to do. And so the first month and a half I was ill, like I was always ill. And I think that I was probably stressed without realizing I was stressed. And this was actually having an ambassador role at Liverpool Football Club. Imagine if I hadn't had that role, what kind of state I would be in. So I think it's taken me time, but yeah, I'm just absolutely loving it. I'm pinching myself every day. I feel like I've never worked a day of my life, and I am. I'm really fortunate, and I'm loving the fact now that I can give more of myself. I think as a football player, I was very selfish. As a striker, we are. You know, it's just about scoring goals, winning games. You know, really now, I love the fact that I can give more to myself, give more of my time, not have to worry about resting, recovering. So I'm loving life actually, which I never thought I would say, not playing football. I kind of feel guilty almost enjoying it this much.
You said it yourself. I mean, you've really landed on your feet, but you make that luck yourself. But often the end of a sporting career, or any careers can be, but we see sporting careers because it's in the spotlight, right? They can be brutal, right? Because they end because of not getting selected, someone else being brought into the team to replace you before you even know you're getting replaced, or you get injured, or you're just not making the cut anymore. So it does feel really brutal. Did you have, as you sort of in the later stage of your career, did you have any fear of a life after sport before you knew this opportunity was going to be there with Liverpool?
Do you know what? It's a great question. Truthfully, no, because I've always been that type of person that I've got no degree. You know, I went to uni, but we can talk on this later what happened, but I ended up getting kicked out after 6 months. So I've got my coaching badges, I did my A licence, and I always knew with the type of person that I am that I like to think I'm a people person. So I ask questions, I talk the talk, I connect, you know, and I think that's probably why I've got to where I am today, not through really being, you know, knowledgeable or book smart. It's more a case of, you know, just knowing kind of what my strengths are. So I always believed that I would either get a gig in media, or if I had my coaching badges so I could go down that coaching route, whether it was working at Liverpool Academy. I definitely didn't expect the ambassador role. That definitely is a bonus. But I don't think there was any fear, no. I think I was always confident that I would find a way, and I think I've always been like that in life, yeah.
You say, or you mentioned about the coaching badges or the media, and they are the stereotypical go-tos for any sports person, right? I'm either going to stay in my sport and coach, or I'm going to go to the media and do that side of it. Did you get any support in the latter stage, or even throughout your career, about a post-career?
Probably not as much as I would have liked. You know, there is the PFA, and I knew that there was always someone, if I needed them, I could go to. But, you know, the lead up to my retirement, there wasn't like, right, Tash, let's sit down, you know, let's talk about life after football. Like I said, it was actually really sprung on me, even retirement, full stop. So, look, do you know what? It's funny, sliding doors. I'm a big believer in it. You know, I was at Reading. You know, we were fighting relegation, you know, going from playing at AC Milan, at clubs like Liverpool, at Everton, where I was always competing for trophies. I found myself in a position that I wasn't used to, losing every week, not scoring goals, not enjoying football, which I never ever thought I'd ever say, and I was miserable. And this is where a lot of people probably would have just, you know, seen out the season and maybe looked to move on. But I've always been that person that, and probably this is why people wonder why I've moved around so much. I've played in 6 different countries and played for 14 different teams. And that's not because I necessarily wanted to do that, but I'd never liked the feeling of being complacent and feeling comfortable. You know, I always wanted to push myself beyond my limits. And so I sat down with the Reading manager, and I had quite a brave and frank conversation with Kelly Chambers. And I said, look, I'm not happy. You know, I'm 34. I don't want this to be the way I end my football career. You know, you're not getting the best out of me. I'm not getting the best out of you. Is there some sort of kind of agreement? Can I go on loan? And, you know, truthfully, I was lucky because at the time I was their big marquee signing. Maybe she could have said no, Tash, and then I could have potentially, I definitely wouldn't have retired like that. But all of a sudden she says to me, yeah, we'll let you go on loan. And then obviously I had the conversation with Liverpool. So, you know, that kind of thing. To then, from me being down here, where I literally didn't want to go to training, wasn't excited about anything regarding football, to then all of a sudden within a day, I'm driving up, you know, the M1, M6 to Liverpool, and it's like I'm a kid again. You know, I've got the biggest smile on my face, I'm putting on the Liverpool shirt, you know, I'm playing 4 months at the club I love, and then I'm getting a Guard of Honour at Anfield, you know, the first female seeing out my career. So it's funny, I'm a big believer in what's meant to be will be. I really do believe that. But yeah, you know, you're spot on with regards to the support. It probably wasn't there. Luck probably more than anything.
And when we talk about transition, of course, transition isn't always at the end, right? Because especially in a career like yours, transition is moving from club to club, making those choices. But what you've shown is you can actually take control of that transition piece. You don't have to wait for somebody else to always be in control.
Yeah.
And I think one of the exercises that we do with athletes, and indeed with anyone we work with, is something called the career timeline. And this is part of the exercise that we're going to do in a moment. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to reflect back on your career so far. And you're going to have 3 minutes, and you're going to be able to plot it on the line. Now, when you're thinking about it, I want you to think about the highs and plot it. If we can just use some, thank you. We've got Danny's as an example here. Danny's a gold medal winner. He'd be too humble to tell you that. But he's plotted the highs and the lows on the timeline. So the highs are above on the plus part, the lows are the minus part. And I'm going to ask you to do that. And then once you've done that, I'm going to ask you to share what you've experienced, filling that out with the person next to you. Now, what we're going to do in a minute, though, I'm going to ask Dan to just talk through his timeline. And what the important part of this exercise is about you understanding the kind of things that took you to the high parts. What skills were you using? Was it because you were using skills that you love using? Was it because you were in an environment that really supported you and enabled you to use the best of to make you the best you possibly could be? And question yourself why it's below the line. Now, again, was it like a stopgap kind of role? Was it somewhere that wasn't very supportive to you and your development? Was it an environment that actually you didn't really thrive in, a bit like Tash's experience at Reading? And start to dig a little bit deeper into the reasons why you're putting them above or below the line.
Yeah, the easiest way for you to do this, you maybe use the back of it as well, is just pick a time period. Like obviously, and we'll show you Tash's one in a minute, we've chosen our sporting careers, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be your career, it could be whatever you're doing in life. You choose a starting point and an end point just for this exercise. And then I find it's easier just to bullet point some key moments, and then you can add them on the line, the highs and the lows. So for me, I just chose my sporting career from first international vest. Obviously, there was a lot of time before that, but I chose from my first international vest until the date of retirement. And all those high moments and those low moments, the injuries, the setbacks, the not getting selected, the not doing well in races, to breaking world records and winning championships. But it's only when we look back we can learn a lot from it. So the reason we plot, and especially the low points, because yes, they are lows in our career and we've all got them in our careers, but actually if we look at them and focus on them, we can actually, rather than look at it as a negative, we work out what we did to get back up into the positive again. And we can use that again, because one thing we're guaranteed in life, right, is going to go up and down. So we can use those key learnings. But the same with when we've been successful. If we're trying to achieve something new, we can look back on other successes we've had in our life and look at the structure and the processes we put into place. And that'll enable us to move forward onto our next goal. And we've worked with hundreds of athletes doing this, and all bar not one have said this is, of all the tools we've got, one of the most powerful things they've ever done. And we asked you to do it, didn't we, Tash? If we get Tash's one. Yeah, sure. And obviously we've given you one way of doing it. You can do it in your own versions, but for the moment just use ours. But Tash did her own version of it. And just very quickly before we set everyone off on their own timelines, how did you find it, like looking back?
Do you know what, it's nice because I think when you go through your career as an athlete, and we were speaking about it earlier, you very rarely look back ever. And you probably don't reflect and enjoy it as much as you should until you retire, you know. And then when you look back at your career, you can be like, wow, God. And when I did retire, I was like, I'm so proud of my career that I probably didn't think enough. And when I did the timeline, look, I've had so many highs and lows, and I do a lot of talks at academies for younger female players, so for really from 13 to 18-year-olds, and I share my journey and story because I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm Liverpool ambassador, I've won this, I've won that the journey was just like this. And it was far from it. You know, there's so many ups and downs, but that's okay. You know, I've made loads of mistakes in my career, you know, some bigger than others, but the biggest thing was now is, okay, well, how did I learn from that? You know, and then how did I then get another high? And there'll always be another high, and there will always be another low. But it's kind of like trying to make the highs not as high and the lows not as low, trying to stay at as level as you possibly can. But I'll obviously share some of my journeys here later on.
Should we do the exercise? So we're going to give you 3 minutes to have a little bit of self-reflection. If you've got something to draw on, I think there's pads and pens in your bag. Just draw a line across the middle of the page. Turn to the person next to you and talk about the kind of things that have come up for you. You might want to think about how it felt. Was it really easy? Was it something that came quite naturally? When you were doing the low part, did you go straight back to that space? When it was going to the highs, did you get a sense of feeling proud about what you were doing? I love it.
Hand up.
I'll give it 2 more minutes. Minute? No.
1 more minute.
Okay, you've got 1 more minute.
we've lost the crowd.
I know. We need to get a video of this.
I said to Andrew though about the microphone.
Hey everyone. Okay, everybody. All right. It's always incredibly satisfying when I have to ask a crowd of people
Please,
to come back about 4 or 5 times, because it means that there's something happening in the room, and that's a really good thing. Just very briefly, because we want to open it up to question and answers, and we just want to touch on one other thing with Tash. Is there anyone that wants to share or feels comfortable sharing anything that they've discovered in doing that exercise? Yes.
Yeah, I kind of realised that it doesn't. I didn't go to uni either. So I was playing for England hockey, and I broke my shoulder, had it reconstructed, so I was forced retirement from that, with no qualifications, nothing, and I went into finance, and it's just kind of gone up from there because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I needed money, and then I found something that I loved, and now I work with nearly all of the WSL players, helping them kind of invest and know what to do with their finances. So it's kind of like reversed.
Yeah, amazing.
But I love it, so I'm still involved in sport, just a completely different
way. Exactly.
Why aren't you helping me?
We'll connect you later.
I think that's a really lovely point. You're still, and this is why we pick up a lot on the interests, you're still doing and you're still connected to sport in some way, but you're able to monetize that and do something that still fulfills you and gives you a purpose and a drive, but is also going to pay the mortgage and your bills, which is like perfect. It's the kind of stuff that we would see as a real success. Thank you for sharing. Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, looking at my timeline, the bad stuff doesn't last forever. I was really reflecting that I had 2-3 times over the last 10 years where things have seemed awful, like I've been made redundant, or I took a job that was a terrible mistake and I relocated and it didn't work out. But actually looking at it, out of all of those bad choices, good stuff eventually came from them. So I think it's like nothing lasts forever, and you can move forward, even though you might be sat in a horrible flat somewhere thinking, I absolutely hate this. You actually can move forward from that, and actually some of the things you take from that bad experience sometimes can help you. So I think that was a really helpful reflection on the piece.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think that is the absolute point of this. These moments don't last forever, but it is exactly what you take from them in order to move forward. And the phrase "this too shall pass" is something that's bandied around a lot and sometimes doesn't feel like it will in the moment. But this can be a really good visualization for you to just take a moment to take a step back and go, wow, this is working, okay. Thank you so much.
I hope you found it, just in the very short time you did that, how powerful that exercise is, and we'd encourage you, take it away, no more pieces of paper, you'll have to make your own, right? But take it away and do it again, and you've seen Natasha, you can do it in any way you like, because it really is powerful, and often we like to go back into the dark times in our life, don't we? I don't know why we do it, because it's gone, right? But this enables you to use those darker times to actually be really positive, because you have, as you say, they don't last very long, and we actually do come out of them, and we did things to get us out of it. So there is positives in it. So Tash, we're going to take one little look at yours. And the one that I'm going to go to, I mean, you got offered a prestigious scholarship at Loughborough, right?
Yep.
On your timeline, so that's way up there. And then suddenly you crashed down.
Yep.
So very quickly, like, there's got to be a story behind it, but then most importantly, how you switched it.
Yeah, I just want to touch on the reason why we're going to talk on this is because I could control this. So I was top goal scorer in the WSL, just won the league, didn't get picked for England, but that was out of my control. You know, the Boston Breakers folding, out of my control. Injury, out of my control. So this was probably the one on the timeline that I could control through my own decisions. So yeah, when I was 18, I got offered a scholarship to Loughborough. It was the big thing back then, you know, really only a handful got selected, pretty much the next up and coming England stars. Was really excited. And it was at a period of my time where, you know, I'd been looked after by mum and dad, clothes washed, food cooked. I was spoiled as a kid, let's be honest. So I went to Loughborough and I just really was trying to find my sexuality. So it's the first time in my life that I was interested in girls. So I kind of was partying a bit more than maybe I used to, figuring that side of things out, getting maybe involved, not necessarily in the wrong crowd, but wasn't training as hard. Just my head wasn't on studying, and found myself in a position where after 6 months I was sitting in a table in front of Hope Powell, Mo Marley, Lois Fiddler, basically telling me that I wasn't staying at Loughborough, you know, and it literally felt like the end of the world. You know, I felt like I'd let my family down. I thought it would affect my England career, which truthfully, actually, I think probably it did in later life, because I don't feel then that Hope Powell picked me as much, maybe because of this incident, and maybe she kind of, no matter how old I became, and even though I was a different Tash Dowie in 10 years' time, she remembered the Tash Dowie of Loughborough. So maybe it did affect my England caps, but it was a tough learning curve. And me and my dad sat down after it happened and we had a crossroads conversation. He said, look, Tash, like, you can go two ways now. Carry on, you know, partying, maybe getting involved, not focusing, not getting your head down. Or you have to really now think about, you know, are you going to waste this talent that you've got as a football player? You know, you're at a good club at Everton with Mo Marley, you know, you've got potential to go on and do great things. You get your head down, you work hard, you know. So I did. You know, I started doing a bit of community coaching at Stevenage and at Watford to make a bit of money. I then met my partner, Becky, and pretty much, truthfully, she didn't save me, but she definitely switched my mindset completely with regards to how to actually be a professional football player. She was 15 years older than me, had played for England, had been there, done it. And when I moved up to Liverpool to be with her, my kind of mindset changed completely. So I think probably finding her was a big saviour as well. So from being rock bottom again, potentially, you know, no degree, no work, no nothing, you know, I then, through obviously luck again, meeting Becky, but through that kind of belief that I was going to turn this around, through having a supportive family, through having a family. My dad used to drive me up and down to Everton 3.5 hours from London 2 or 3 times a week. You know, without that support, I then, within a year, go on to win the FA Cup with Everton, to go and win the back-to-back doubles with Liverpool, and the journey continued. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. I feel ever so inadequate right now, but that's fine. It's what we learn from that as well. So thank you for sharing your story there, Tash. I mean, inspirational, certainly. We're about to wrap up. Mel, what would you like to share with us, I suppose, about, now we've done our career planning, why? Why is this something we should keep doing time and time again?
Always like to give some takeaways at LHH to support people when they're thinking about their careers. And apart from the obvious, which is carve out some time to think about your career, not just where you are now and where you've been, but also where you're going. New identities. Tash and Danny have already highlighted the fact that, you know, that whole sort of sense of being and that label that you attach to yourself sometimes comes with a job, whatever that is, whether you're an elite athlete or whether you're somebody that's really good at your office job. Think about that new identity. Think about what's important to you. Who are you talking to that's going to reinforce your skills? Nicky's already talked about those transferable skills. Just think about what that identity needs to look like as you move forward in your career. Don't forget professional development. You know, you're here today. This is professional development. You're networking, you're talking to people, you're learning from other people's experiences, but consciously develop in your career. Consciously go out of the way to understand how people attain these goals in their careers and what can you learn from that. And hopefully the biggest takeaway from today is, you know, expect the unexpected. No career line is a straight line. It's a wiggly one, but it's of your making. So, you know, be prepared for the unexpected. Expect some of the bumps in the road. How are you going to navigate around them, and what are you going to learn from them? And then finally, plug for people like us at LHH, coaching in any shape or form really supports so many people in their thinking. And you can coach each other. You don't need to go and find a professional coach. It helps, but you can support each other by having those ongoing career conversations. So yeah, do consider it. It's a really positive aspect for career development.
Fabulous. Thank you, Mel. We've got some time for questions, unbelievably. So, who would like to ask a question of our panel? We do have a mic that we can bring to you, or if you'd like to shout it out.
Oh, quiet crowd.
Yeah.
That always happens.
That is not a quiet crowd. That is not a quiet crowd. Is anyone? Yes, lady at the back.
Like we've mentioned, around nothing quite lasts forever in terms of the highs and lows. So we've focused on the lows around how we then get to the highs. But what happens when you're at the highs and then you reached it? So just in terms of some context, you go and win the gold medal, then what? And how do you manage people's expectations to do that by yourself?
It's a really good question.
Wow, that is a question. Who would like to answer that?
Gold medal.
Oh God.
Well, I think it's like any sort of goal setting process you have in your life, or anything you're working towards. You can call it what you will, right? There's always that bit where you reach it, and it's what next. And we were discussing this earlier, wasn't we? Like, one of the things, and that whole thing about sport into business and the lessons from sport into business, and which is why sports people are so strong within business, is we take all these transferable skills across. But the one thing we don't often do very well in sport is look back, which is why the timeline is so important, because we're always moving forward. So it's great because we're always working towards something. As soon as you achieve something, it's like, enjoy yourself for about 5 minutes because we're working towards the next one. And so we're going to start the next process. But actually, it is about having the next thing. So sometimes it is about moving forward. So when you get to that highest pinnacle of your career, for you it's not the end, right? The timeline show that as well. It's not the end. You don't just stop there. You're already focusing on what next. So if you've reached a gold medal at a major championship, it's about how do I stay there.
Yeah, no, I think that one of the women earlier asked me, what's your next goal? What's next for you? And I actually said, I'm here, like I don't feel like I need to achieve anything more in my life. I work and I'm an ambassador of the club that I love and support. That to me, I'm so content. But that doesn't necessarily mean then that, okay, I don't want to learn more. That's why I'm coming to events like this, which I never was able to as a player, and learning from different people, growing, education was never my strongest thing, truthfully. So actually, okay, how can I learn and become a bit more streetwise with regards to that and learn off different people? So yes, I'm at the top now. For me, this is the top, to go out the way I did and to be at the club that I support. But it's now a case, okay, but how can I then learn and grow, in other ways? So I think that's what I'm really enjoying.
Amazing. Right, unfortunately, no more time for questions. Michael at the back is waving at me already. So it just leaves me to say thank you so much for coming, for choosing this session. Hopefully you've got something out of it, so keep on to that. Massive thank you to Tash, to Danny, to Nicky, to Mel. Amazing. And just to leave you with this one thought, and it really picks up on our lady's question over there. Athletes are goal-focused. There's no two ways about that. They're structured. They're driven within their careers. And it's true, they are always chasing the next thing. So as we leave the room today, how can we learn from that desire, that drive, and how can we go and chase the next thing? How do you apply that to your career? So thank you very much for coming today. If you want to come and chat to us, more than happy to take questions now. We've got a stand downstairs. If not, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.